Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I did not anticipate filming another video for this week. To you, it seems like this is just the second video. However, today's Thursday, Australia time, so Thursday during the day, and I filmed a video on Tuesday, the 23rd, to cover an update on Johnny's case in Virginia. Little did I know that I would wake up the very next morning on the Wednesday and realize that the entire trial has been postponed to April of next year. You heard me right, folks. It was scheduled for the 17th of May of this year, 2021, and it has now been postponed to the 11th of April, 2022. For a second there, I freaked out and I thought it was the 4th of November because in Australia, we do the dates the other way around. So it's the day and then the month. So yeah, April's better than November. And it is worth noting, since it is right there, that it's expected to take 16 days. A lot of us in the community who are very involved with the case and keeping up to date saw this coming because I think earlier this year, maybe January, I mean, it's only February, it has to be January, right? The court did issue a notice about delays. So basically, for those of you who are wondering why this is happening, the pandemic really did a number, right, on the scheduling of these things. So everything was on hold for a long time, and then now things are slowly starting to come back, and there is a backlog of cases, both criminal and civil. Now, criminal cases will take priority, particularly with jury trials, because criminal trials are always jury trials unless the defendant elects not to have a jury. And then, of course, comes the civil cases that predate Johnny's defamation claim. So things are done in order of when the claims were lodged. So any civil trials that were scheduled to take place before Johnny's case will go ahead before Johnny's case, which is why the delay happened. So honestly, we've kind of been holding our breath and expecting this to happen, and it did. Now, I said earlier I filmed an update video scheduled for this week that I was editing up until yesterday, trying to make it happen in any way possible. And then the further I got into the video, the more I realized I just can't put it up anymore because it's absolutely been rendered obsolete by this update. So the topic of that video was Johnny's request to have the witnesses testify via live audio-visual link, as opposed to Amber's preference of having all the witness testimony pre-recorded by way of a deposition de bene esse, which basically means a deposition that is taken specifically for use at a trial. It's usually done when the witness may be unavailable at the time of trial. For example, they may be terminally ill and there is a chance they may not still be with us by the time the trial starts or even during the trial. So because of the travel restrictions and all the, social distancing measures and all that, Johnny wanted the witnesses to testify remotely, but still live. I can only speculate about why Amber was fighting that motion. The official reasons were that it would be a waste of time because there are a lot of technical glitches that happen with live audio-visual links, and that the deposition schedule has already been extensively agreed upon, and that the depositions themselves had already started and people were already providing their pre-recorded testimony. Now, the reason it's obsolete is because by April of next year, I don't really see the pandemic still being at the forefront of society and our way of life, purely because of all the vaccinations that are already starting to get rolled out globally. So one would think that by April of next year, it is very likely that all of Johnny's reasons and Amber's reasons for remote testimony will no longer apply, because witnesses could then actually come in person whenever possible to testify in court, which is the way that courts prefer it, because it is such a crucial part of a jury's role to assess a witness's body language. Juries will watch you when you testify. They will watch for anything that could give away that a witness is maybe being dishonest or deceitful, or on the flip side, that they're being very honest and open in their testimony. And in the last video that I deleted, may it rest in peace, I actually talked about how I was a proponent of the live audiovisual testimony, like they did in the UK, for that very reason. The jury needs to be able to watch the witness as they testify. If it's pre-recorded, then the witness will be in a completely different environment, usually in a lawyer's office. It's a lot less formal, and there'll be no jury listening in or watching. There'll be no judge. So witnesses may feel more comfortable to lie or to just not be as honest and forthcoming as they are required to be. Because when you're aware that you are being watched by the jury and the court, it's just an entirely different dynamic. You will feel the pressure to be honest, for the most part. There are people out there who are so comfortable lying. We know exactly who we're talking about here, she who must not be named. But that, thankfully, is actually not the norm for most people. So maybe there's a silver lining with this delay. Maybe now people will actually have to fly in and testify in person. That's good, because if things were pre-recorded, then Amber would have a lot more time to tailor her story according to the testimony of all the witnesses. So if she detects any weaknesses, she can fill in the gaps and she'll have the time to do that. Whereas if it's live in court, she won't have nearly as much time. I mean, she will still have some time, but her witness statements would have already been all lodged. I did wonder whether she was fighting so hard against the live audiovisual testimony because she wanted that time to prepare her story and to counter any witness testimony that may weaken her defense. There is also the issue of Chief Justice White retiring. I do believe he was due to retire in July of this year. So that's not the end of the world. Judges retire, judges pass away. These things can be handed over to a new judge. It's not ideal. Of course, it's always good to have the same judge from beginning to end because they're, caught up, clued in, they know everything, they've had experience with dealing with the parties themselves. So to have a new judge come in late in the process would be unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. Now, to preempt this question, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it, will the UK appeal go through and the retrial in the UK go through before this trial now that it's been delayed? And the answer is I don't know. Now, of course, we're going to get a ruling from the Court of Appeal in the UK about whether they are going to permit the appeal way before April of next year. But assuming the appeal is granted, hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't really see the UK retrial going ahead before the Virginia defamation case, but I could be wrong. Sometimes appeals actually move very quickly and sometimes they take years. There's also another update that I was alerted to by one of my patrons. Thank you so much for that. But this one involves Johnny's libel trial in the UK. And also, this is from an article. I do approach articles with caution in terms of their accuracy. Nothing against the authors or anything, but in my case, I like to view the court documents or the filings directly and then convey them to you rather than rely on articles. I couldn't find any source material, so I am gonna have to rely on this one, just putting you on notice. So one of my more recent videos on Johnny's case was about his filing for permission to adduce new evidence. Usually, appeal courts do not accept new or fresh evidence unless there are exceptional circumstances. For example, the evidence did not exist at the time of the trial. So we speculated in that video that the new evidence is pertaining to the charity donations that never took place. And based on that application, a hearing was set for March of 2021. Apparently, Amber's attorney, who I'm assuming is Jennifer Robinson in the UK, attempted to oppose this hearing but was ultimately turned down twice for not having a valid reason to do so. In addition to the charity donation evidence, Johnny is allegedly also going to provide the court with evidence that Amber lied about not being allowed to drive. Now, I hate that the article used the word receipts. I know that receipts is a word that is used on social media as evidence, but this is an article about a legal case. Just use the word evidence. Just a little pet peeve of mine. I don't like the word receipts. It's probably the lawyer in me. Now, another thing pointed out by this article is that Despite the fact that NGN is the official defendant and Amber is only a witness, because she is the one who is being accused of perjury, she has to oppose the hearing. So she potentially committed the crime, not NGN. Now, this article is relying on what they call a legal document presented by the Law Society of Queensland, but what they're really referring to is what is the code of ethics, basically, for lawyers. So according to the rules, they must advise their client that the court should be informed of this and that they refuse to take any further part in the case unless the client authorizes this to happen. Now, I'm not sure what NGN is doing about this potential perjury. I don't know whether the legal team has advised NGN that they will not progress further until Amber's alleged perjury is disclosed. Because the thing is, with regards to this rule that I just read out, it only applies if the legal representatives actually know for certain or are almost certain that perjury or falsification has been committed. But if it's just something that is being alleged by the opposing party and it is up to the opposing party to prove it, that doesn't necessarily kick in this rule. This rule applies if the lawyer in charge is aware of this perjury. And of course, is aware also implies that they believe that it actually happened. So as far as NGN is concerned, they relied on her evidence. She was their primary witness. As far as they're concerned, they could easily argue that they believed her. They didn't know that she was lying and she never donated, etc., etc. I have an entire video, maybe even 2 videos, I'm not sure, but definitely one video about perjury. Actually, yes, I do have 2. One is on the UK and one is on Australia. Because if you guys will remember, there was apparently a perjury investigation against her. Don't know where that's gone up to this point. But this article, very much like the video that I made on the Australia investigation, points out that it's very unlikely for Amber to actually be criminally prosecuted for perjury. I have explained my reasons in the Australia perjury investigations video, and I believe also the UK perjury video. So please refer to these 2 videos if you would require more insight on why perjury is rarely prosecuted, especially in Amber's case where she is an international witness. So she doesn't reside in Australia or the UK. Extradition headaches will come into the picture, and money and time and resources and all those things that make investigators less prone to actually pursue an investigation or charges against her. I mean, honestly, like I said in the Australia video, the most that will happen is maybe she will just be banned from visiting either country because there will be a pending investigation or a charge against her. Now, that's the norm. She could be prosecuted, don't get me wrong. The courts may decide to use her as an example. What better example to use than a famous person? Only time will tell. I'm leaning more towards she's not going to be prosecuted. If it was in the US, I would feel more confident that she would be prosecuted. But for the reasons I just stated with extraditions and whatnot, I really don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong. There are many times where I hope I'm wrong. So that's it for today's video. Of course, we will be keeping an eye out on what this March hearing will transpire. My fingers are crossed for this UK appeal to go through. Because can you imagine if it went through, it is yet another trump card that Johnny's legal team will have for use in the US. Of course, they can bring that up to the jury and say, the appeal's been granted because Johnny's arguments of Amber being a liar, Amber being unreliable, were found to have merit. It's a big deal to have an appeal granted, by the way. I talked about how courts of appeal don't like to reverse findings of fact. They like to deal with errors of law. But again, there are always exceptional circumstances, and I truly believe Johnny's case is one of them. Don't forget to let me know what you think on both accounts. The delay, what's your opinion on that? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And this latest update that I haven't been able to verify myself, but we do know that the March appeal date has been set, so that is verified. But in terms of Amber failing to oppose it, again, completely just relying on this article that I will be linking down below. I think there are 2 actually that I'll be linking, in addition to any other relevant videos that I have referenced in this video. Oh, and also this is the last time that you'll see a video filmed in this location because I am relocating. I'm very excited about that. A nice new start to a new year. So yeah, hopefully the next video you'll see that I am in my new apartment. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. A very special thank you to my patrons. Stay safe, everyone, and I will catch you in a future video.